Hey y'all, it's Travel Bestie Cat. Is travel insurance really necessary? Join me as I chat with Rick Welton. He is an excellent source on all things health insurance, travel insurance, and just a wealth of information. So let's have a little chitty chat with Rick and see what he thinks about travel insurance. And is it necessary?
So, what do you think the biggest misconception travelers have about travel insurance?
I think the biggest misconception is, oh, I don't need it. Not nothing's going to happen to
Yes.
me. I'm in good health and should have no problems. That's not
Right?
always the case.
Everyone's like, "Ooh, I'm healthy and it's all prepaid, so I'm good."
That's right. That's right.
What type of trips do you think should absolutely never be taken without travel insurance?
Absolutely anything outside of the country. Anything outside of the U.S. borders, I would not even think about going without any kind of coverage. You got to have something because your health insurance stops typically at the U.S. borders. No matter what kind of plan you have, there's just not a lot. You may get very little attached coverage, but not much. So by and large, your insurance stops at the U.S. borders.
That's important. So when we think about medical emergencies abroad, what actually happens, even with travel insurance? How does it step in?
Well, it depends on the insurance company and how they're set up. Um, in the best scenario is that the insurance company has got a good network of providers. And when I'm talking about travel insurance, this is on the health side, not necessarily on the cancellation and trip cost. That's a separate piece of it. But on the health insurance, which is what I kind of deal with primarily, if they have a network of providers that's broad, then it becomes much easier when you have an issue and need to file a claim. If they don't have a broad network, you are likely to get into a situation where you're paying the entire amount of any kind of health care and then looking for a reimbursement situation when you get back home.
Ah, okay. Now, I love cruising. So, is there anything cruise specific that cruisers need to know versus folks who are doing a land travel?
Um, well, the one of the things I would say do is a little bit of research. Look at the cruise line. Look at the what they offer. A lot of them will offer an insurance package while you're on board. They may not include things once you disembark. So be aware that just because your cruise line says, "Okay, we've got coverage that you're included on," that may not mean you're going to get good health care, and it may not mean you're going to get any health care if you're off the ship. Just depends on the verbiage of the policy. And even so, healthcare on the boat is not always the greatest. If
Not always
anybody's
good.
ever been to one of the medical rooms there, they'll know they're very good for seasickness pills and things like that. You get much beyond that, and there's a good possibility they're working with antiquated equipment and may not provide you with the best care that you need at the time.
Yeah, more than a Tylenol or a Band-Aid, you might be in trouble.
That's true. Very true.
Now, I experienced this because we're doing this while I'm still in Puerto Rico and I should be back in Knoxville. But does travel insurance cover misconnections or weather chaos or port changes?
It can, yes. Now, again, you have to look at your policy, and we're kind of speaking in generalities here,
Yeah.
because a good friend once told me, "The bold print giveth, but the fine print taketh away," and that is so true when it comes to any policy of any kind. So they'll tout that yes, we have coverage for trip cancellation, we've got coverage for lost luggage, we've got coverage for this and that, but look at the fine print because a lot of times it's named specific instances only, occurrences. So weather may or may not be included, and depending on the type of weather. So you have to look at those kind of things as well. That's something that can differ from one company to the other.
What about cancel for any reason policies? Are those worth it or are they overrated?
They can be worth it. There, you pay a premium for that. But that is a very good thing to have. And cancel for any reason doesn't always necessarily mean for any reason. So again, you have to look at the verbiage of the policy in depth and kind of see what you're getting. It's always buyer beware on everything. That's why it's very important to have somebody in your corner that knows the ins and outs of these things, that knows what they're talking about, and will look at the fine print. Some people they're very meticulous and love doing research on that, and they don't need any outside help. They think, but other people, as soon as this print gets to a certain size, they just blank out and they're like, okay, it's fine. They skip right over it. But what you skip can really come back and bite you if you're not sure what you're getting. So travel agents are wonderful advisors when it comes to the travel portion of it. They also are able to say, here is a package that has insurance, but they're not health insurance agents. They're not licensed insurance agents. So it's always a good idea to get a person who is licensed to look over the policy and see what you might be missing on that and make sure that that policy is going to work well for you. And it may be perfectly fine. But if you've got other concerns, that person may be more apt to bring that up and let you see those shortcomings in that policy that could be a very costly error.
Yes, you got to get yourself a Rick to help you out.
Somebody, yes,
Because
somebody.
I'm telling you, I'm not going to read all that fine print. So I'm
Most
going to
people
rely
don't.
on you strongly. Yes.
Most people don't. And find yourself someone who represents more than one company,
Yes.
because different companies treat different things differently. That sounds kind of funny, but really what happens is some of them are geared more towards the trip cost and cancellation services, lost luggage, and then have a little bit of health included in it. Other companies focus more on the health and have some of the trip cancellation and all that in it. Some companies are geared more towards the adventure traveler. Some companies are geared more towards the senior market, so over 65. Some companies don't even want to touch those. So you really have to watch out. And another big thing is the maximum benefit that they pay for on the health side. Um, you look at your trip cost and you have to say, well, I want to cover up to this expense if I have to cancel my trip so I can get my money back. Well, you also have to look at medical cost and what would the medical side be, given a really bad scenario. If you had to be life flighted uh, off of a ship or out of another country to get you back here on a medevac of some kind, what's the cost of that? A lot of health insurance on travel will cap out at $50,000 or $100,000. $100,000 may not touch that.
Right.
So you may need to get a policy that goes way beyond that. And the cost of that really can be negligible. Um, I have seen policies that were maybe a $50 difference to go from $100,000 in maximum coverage for your trip for medical to one that's $1 million. And when you're talking about a $50 increase to get $900,000 plus of additional coverage, that can be huge if you've got a major medical issue and have to be medevaced.
Right. That seems
So
like a no-brainer.
it really does. But again, people don't look at it as closely as they should. And they think $100,000, that's huge. Well, it is until it's not. And that's the problem. And when you're looking at a $50 difference or whatever it might be, that can be a problem. So, you might want to take a little bit closer look, have someone who can think about these things and the what ifs and has seen some of the costs of evacuations and heard the stories of people who have had to use medical insurance or who didn't have medical insurance and are coming to you now and saying, I want to get it this time because I didn't last time, and here's what happened.
What do you think the top three mistakes travelers make when they're buying a policy, an insurance policy?
One of the big things is they don't take their policy information with them. Um, they don't take the contact phone numbers for the policy. That's a big thing. And then they don't really contact the insurance company, the insurance provider for the policy when something occurs. That's the main thing. You got to have your policy number, your policy information. You need to call the insurance company before you go get treatment, if possible. I understand emergency situations, that may not be a possibility. But if you can, contact them. So you have to have their phone number. That's the second one. And then, like I say, talk to one of the agents. The agents with these insurance companies, for a reputable company, they're typically very good and they bend over backwards to try and help you. They have multilingual associates. So if you're in another country, they can help you out with problems with communications. They can help you find a local clinic if you need to go to a local clinic. They might even be able to call a local doctor. Another thing is, if they have that broader network of providers, they'll be able to put you in contact with a local provider that they may even be able to bill directly, so you don't run into that reimbursement situation like you might if you just went to some doctor from the hotel that they recommend.
What's the most common claim you see?
Usually it's something pretty simple. A lot of twisted ankles, turned ankles, things like that. That people, especially as we age, our knees, our legs, our hips aren't as strong as they used to be. They're finally
See,
taking
I was
that.
going to blame those cobblestone streets, not our
Yep,
age, but
yep, that's it. That's it. They've been dreaming for this European trip forever. They're finally taking that dream vacation, and they don't realize that walking on cobblestones isn't as easy as you would think.
what's your worst I wish I'd bought insurance moment you've heard of or experienced with one of your clients?
Well, one of the worst ones is uh, an elderly lady that went on a cruise. Actually, was out on the pool deck, went to get a cup of coffee, and slipped and fell. And so she went to the physician there on board, um, and they had what they said was an X-ray, good X-ray equipment. Took an X-ray for her and said, "Oh, nothing's wrong. You're just bruised," and gave her some Tylenol. This was day one of her cruise. She was in pain for the remainder of the cruise.
Mhm.
Got back home, went to her doctor. They did another X-ray, and her pelvic bone had broken in two places. So again, an example of you'll get some medical treatment on board, but you're not necessarily going to get premium medical treatment on board. And so if you're in pain, you may want to go at a stopping and uh, seek assistance. That's where you need to call your insurance provider if you have one, and tell them what's going on. Let them talk you through it. There's a lot of these companies also have a teledoc service that you can call, and they'll kind of do what they can over the phone, and then determine, well, you know what, maybe you should see a doctor at this port. We'll try to arrange that for you or whatever. But it can be very, very important to have someone on your side to advocate for you. And these companies pride themselves, the good ones do, on assisting their clientele when they need it most.
Now, I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it. Who benefits most from working with an insurance specialist instead of DIYing it online?
Absolutely, the client benefits because there is no cost to any of our services, any health insurance provider, to recommend or to enroll you in coverage. It's the same price that you would pay if you went and just did it yourself. So there's absolutely no additional cost through an insurance agent. Now that's the thing. A licensed insurance agent doesn't charge you for that. If you've got somebody else off of the street that's trying to work with a company and sell a bundle of product, maybe a travel agent, maybe somebody else through another kind of third party something, who knows what kind of arrangement they have, but they're probably not a licensed insurance agent. They're just working as an advocate, and they get a finder's fee for finding a client for them. So that we do as an insurance agents, we get a small commission from the insurance company themselves, but that's only if we find something that works well for you and makes sense for you. And that cost does not get channeled down to the client. It's the same price if they went and found it themselves.
Well, and I'm just going to add on a team Rick saying, I know him personally, and he wouldn't recommend anything unless he truly believed it was going to be the best thing for you. Because
Absolutely.
he's a,
Thank you. Yes, I learned many years ago I have to sleep at night. So, and I
amen.
can't sleep at night if I don't treat my clients well. When I went out on my own after leaving corporate world, I said I'm either going to sink or swim by uh, being ethical. And I've always heard if you treat your clients well, if you take care of them, they're going to take care of you. Uh, and so that comes full circle. I've got a lot of clients that I've helped with travel insurance, and since they trust me on that, they have then come back to me. Since I do other lines of insurance, they've come back to me and said, "Okay, I need help with my Medicare. Do you do that? Absolutely. I need help with individual coverage on the marketplace. You do that? Yes, I do. I need some group health insurance for my company. Do you do that? Yes, I do." So each thing kind of helps refer to the other, and that's the way that I've always done business. I am not a big company. I'm very small. I work on referrals only, which has also done well for me because since I don't have a huge building that I'm trying to pay a lease on, I don't have employees I'm trying to make payroll for. I am not pressured to make sales. So I don't feel like I have to sell somebody something, but if they don't need it. So that's just me. I always try to take care of my clients, just like you do. Just like a good travel agent does. They are there for their client and doing the best for them, and then work for referrals. That's the best way that we get our business.
Yes, I agree. Okay, if someone's listening right now with a trip booked, what's their next step?
Well, one thing is if you're looking at travel insurance, I always suggest look at it, see if it makes sense to you. If you have booked a trip, if you've got pre-existing conditions that need covered, you need to make sure you get that insurance very quickly. Typically, it's within maybe 14 days of when you make your first initial payment or down payment for your trip, if you want any kind of pre-existing covered. Beyond that, you probably won't get pre-existings included on that. But look at the different things that are available, the cost, talk with an agent to see what makes sense for you. And then see if you want to add have everything, trip cost, lost luggage, cancel for any reason, and health, or do you have another way of taking care of those trip costs? Whether it was through the cruise company, maybe they just did a trip cost insurance that they'll guarantee you. Maybe it's through your credit card company. If you purchased your trip through your credit card, they may have a plan that covers that if you made that purchase on that card. Check with your credit card. If that's the case, you may only need the health insurance portion. And I'm telling you, when people look at a total package and they look at a price, they may pause and say, well, I don't know if I want to pay this much or not. It's really not that expensive, but when you're looking at the bulk of the cost, that bulk of that cost is coming from the trip cancellation. Okay. It's not coming from the health insurance side. The trip cancellation can be 7 to 10% of the cost of your trip, but
Mhm.
you're looking at a lot lower amount for the health portion. So if you've got another way that's already covered for your trip cancellation, um, still look, don't think I don't need insurance. Look at the health side as well, because it's not very expensive. It really isn't. and it can cover you and cover your finances. I hate to hear people say that they've spent their life savings on medical issues that they've had while they were on their dream vacation, and it happens.
Yeah, anything can happen at any time.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have some fun rapid fire questions for you when you
Oh,
travel.
okay.
Are you a beach trip fella or a cruise fella?
I am more of a cruise and all-inclusive person when I
Okay.
go. And when I go to all-inclusives, I do spend a little bit of the time at the beach, but I'm pool, I'm restaurants, I'm those kind of things. And then besides that, I'm a European travel person.
Are you a carry-on or a checked bag guy?
I have tried my very best and have done a pretty good job at whittling it down to carry on only.
Nice.
As in most cases, it depends. It's a little harder in the winter when you're going, to an area where you have to have bigger clothing. But man, I tell you what, I have been in too many situations where I've been running tight on a delayed flight or something like that, and it's so nice to be able to just grab my carry on and go and not have to worry if my other luggage made the switch.
Now, are you an over planner or a last minute booker?
I am an over planner. I really am. I I like to research. Um, I don't like to do things as much on the fly. I like to have a plan going to make the most of my time. That's just me. I don't try. I learned also you can plan too much and try and squeeze in too many things. Um, and that can just wear you out. Um, my favorite way of doing things is, especially on like a European thing, like I said, I like doing those, is a minimum, if I can, of 3 days in a city to get a good feel of the vibe
Yeah.
and stay overnight, a couple of nights, and kind of feel it before I move on to the next city. Um, and then I'll plan things, different excursions or things to see in that city over that 3 days.
Nice. Okay, travel insurance in one word.
Necessary.
Yes.
Just it is. I have never had a client come back and say, "I'm sure sorry I spent the money on that insurance that I never needed." Never had that happen. But I have heard people say, "Man, I wish I'd had travel insurance when I had this happen when I was out of the country."
Oh, thank you so much. Now, where can our listeners find you to learn more and get help if they need it?
The easiest way is shoot me an email. That's the greatest way. Um, it's Rick at ICSTN.com. That's Insurance Consulting Services of Tennessee, which is where I'm at. So Rick at ICSTN.com. I also have a toll-free number if they'd like to call that. They can do that as well. Um, which I'm trying to find now. I never can. I usually use just the one UT Vol ICSTN, which is 1-888-654-2786. I always have to remember the thing. I just use the one UT Vol ICSTN.
Because, yeah, if you're from Tennessee, you're a ball.
That's right. Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you so much. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you. I appreciate the time. Business was 18 years ago. After many, many years in corporate life, I decided to branch out on my own and do my own thing and have loved it ever since. And travel has been a passion of mine forever. And so when I get to marry the two things together, that was just seemed to be a perfect fit. Loved it.